Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be watching and reacting to a little video from a general knowledge on interesting maps of Brazil that teach us about the country. Now, if you know me, you know that I am a big fan of learning about maps. One would say like my favorite game is literally about maps. Geoguessr, geoguessing. You travel the world via the Google camera world view. You see what's around you, and then you try to figure out where you are on a map. I don't know. I like maps. I'm a big fan of maps. If I'm not one for like a decor or anything, but if one of the things that I were to get, it would be some maps. I don't know about some of those like super highly expensive maps. Maybe I'll get some like replicas or something. But and also, I'm a big fan of Brazil as well. If you, yeah, you may look at the channel and say, okay, you got a lot of India content on there, but I do have a lot of Brazil content as well. One of like the 2 or 3 places I actually want to go to is Brazil. Brazil. So I think without any further ado, let's go ahead and get in here. Yeah, this seems like a very interesting video. Interesting maps of Brazil. Brazil. In this video, I go through a few interesting maps of Brazil that allow us to learn about the way the country is, how it works, and its people. Perfect. Okay. Link to this video will be in the description. Oh my God, that's blindingly bright. Link to link to this video will be in the description down below. So make sure to go and check it out.
Maps are maps map 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 maps map map maps Maps are great because they allow us to learn about the way a country's territory is.
True.
And statistics are great because they allow us to learn about the country itself. When you put the two together, you learn even more, as you get to learn about the country, but also about its territory compared to each other. So today, we're going to take a look at these types of maps.
Perfect.
Territorial ones,
I'm excited.
but also statistical.
Look at that man.
Brazil has a very interesting territorial history. As we can see on this GIF, its expansion since the early Portuguese settling and colonialism, dividing the Brazilian coast into rectangular captaincies, then expanding into the interior with several periods since
okay.
The early Portuguese settling and colonialism, dividing the Brazilian coast into rectangular captaincies, then expanding into the interior with several periods of growth, 1 or 2 instances of losing territory, and many territorial reorganizations.
What was that last reorganization? Oh, you got the
growth, 1 or 2 instances
the capital
of losing
here.
Territory.
Oh, and then wait, what? Go back.
Into the
okay.
Interior with several periods of growth, 1 or 2.
So what changes here?
Instances of losing territory.
Yeah, there's quite a few changes here. Let me see here. Okay. So that gets more territory. This becomes a state. Oh, down here. Oh, these two get more. And okay. Interesting.
Territory and
I didn't know that. I don't know the history too well of like the formation of states outside of like the US and India. Like when it comes to like I need to learn more. I could tell you a lot of like the so what I know from Brazil is a lot of because of my GeoGuessr knowledge, right? And I could if I were to get plopped into one of these, I could probably tell you what state we're in, but I don't know. I need to learn more, right?
The Brazilian natives also certainly had their own territorial organization before the Europeans arrived and started drawing their own lines, but I couldn't find any map that depicts those tribal regions and borders in all of Brazil's current territory. The best was this one, which shows the groups of indigenous people on each area of Brazil's coast at around the 16th century, precisely when the Portuguese arrived. Oddly enough, the number of native groups, 14, almost matches the number of captaincies, 16, established. Or this other one depicting the native language families. Today, the indigenous reserves are very limited, as much of the territory has been taken, but there are
I like this, native language families. There needs to be more maps like this. You get even the other parts of South America in here as well.
There are still some completely uncontacted tribes in the Amazon forest.
Wait, what? Current Indian reserves, areas under demarcation, and then proposed Indian reserves? Okay.
When the Portuguese arrived, they established those 16 captaincies, which soon grew into other territories and states as they expanded. And today, the country is divided into 26 states and one federal district. And each of these, even the smaller ones, are big. This map attributes a country to each state according to its size.
Yeah, I was going to say, people don't realize just how big Brazil actually is. Look at the UK in comparison. Oh my God. Brazil's massive. Brazil is huge.
How many big countries fit into it? Venezuela, Germany, Finland, the UK, Italy, Mongolia, Portugal, Angola, France, and many others. In addition, these states are sometimes grouped into 5 regions: North, Northeast, Center-West, Southeast, and South. If you want, I can make a video about the
I recently just watched a Dog's Will. Is that what the movie is called? And from one of the reviews that, or a lot of the reviews online that I saw, is like, if people weren't from the Northeast, they wouldn't understand a lot of the references. But I watched it. I was able to perfectly understand literally everything in the movie. So I don't know what these people were getting at. It was a very fun movie, by the way. I think it was called A Dog's Will, right? Let me just double check that. A Dog's Will came out in like 2002. A Dog's Will. Yeah, it's called A Dog's Will. Oh no, it came out in 2000? It is what it is. I liked it. I highly recommend it for those that are looking for a slightly older piece of Brazilian media. It's also a play as well. And I think A Dog's Will actually was originally a TV series that was cut up and made into the movie. So there might even be like a longer cut out there somewhere. I don't know how you would get it, right? I don't know the ins and outs of any of that, but I'm fairly so it started as a play in like from the 1940s, 1950s. And then it was made into a TV series in the 90s, and then it was made into that movie in 2000. So, but I recommend it. Anyways, back to the video.
Northeast, Center-West, Southeast, and South. If you want, I can make a video about the territorial evolution itself in more detail, but for this video, I just wanted to show you the summary so you can understand how the territory has grown and organized itself since the beginning and how it is now. And this early colonial settling on the coast may explain the next map, which tells us about population density. Brazil has a total of
Whoa, I didn't realize it was so high up here as well. Interesting. Super high here. I mean, that makes sense. And then the capital. Yeah, okay. I mean, that makes sense. Look how this is like, if I were to live in Brazil, I want to be out here away from everybody.
212 million people. That is a lot.
Like even here, like I don't it's not that I don't like people. I like people. It's just I like my own personal space, right? Like I don't want to have to hear my neighbors constantly. I don't want to have to like be inundated with, you know, the loud humming and buzzing of the city proper, right? I want to go out and just live in the woods. The older I get, the more desire I have to just go out into the woods and live in the woods, right?
It's as much as every single other Southern American country put together, but the way in which they are distributed along the territory is not equal. This seems to be a constant in many countries we've seen so far, perhaps due to the early settling on the coast, or perhaps just because of the coastal feature itself. These eastern states have a lot more population density than the rest. We should, however, note that the western interior states are much larger, so even if they had the same population, they would be less densely populated. But the fact is, when you look at a map of the states by absolute population numbers, the eastern coastal ones still show up ahead, here depicted in a darker shade, representing more population. Before we keep going with the video, a quick message from sponsor and friend of the channel.
We will go ahead and skip this because this video is from 2021, so this little deal is probably not going on anymore, I would assume. But if you want to check it out, go check it out. Anyways,
Coastal states also have better, or rather bigger, economies, as we can see on this map,
Wow.
where darker shades represent each state's GDP size. However, when we compare the
Isn't
same
isn't
map
Brazil's like #1 export sugarcane? I'm pretty sure it is, right?
with values from 100 years ago. These are slightly but not entirely adjusted for inflation, so keep that in mind, but the difference was much bigger. So we can conclude that while the coastal
Whoa.
states are still richer in GDP due to having more population and more developed economies, the difference between them and the interior states has been significantly reduced, and should it continue, the larger states may even one day surpass them, taking advantage of their significantly larger sizes. In fact, in this map we can see the 2020 GDP growth prediction, with the coastal regions falling and the interior ones growing, as long as the growth isn't done at the expense of natural reserves, which seems to have sadly sometimes been the case in the Amazon forest. In fact, in this map we can see that from a New York Times article in 2019. In red, we can see the deforestation caused by fires in that year, and in yellow, we can see the deforestation that had already happened up to the year before, caused both by fires, but
that is yeah, there's a lot of deforestation. One thing to note is with the deforestation also they are finding out a lot more about the people that once lived there. So yes, deforestation is bad, but there is, I guess, one good thing coming out of it is we're learning about the history. We're learning about these like giant, ancient Native American cities that were once thrived in the Amazon. So I mean, it's always cool to find that from like a historical point of view, right? But yeah, no, deforestation is never good. We don't want that. It's crazy, 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 man, crazy.
also by humans, an incredibly big amount of territory which has sadly been lost, both a consequence through fires and a cause through human action. This issue is heavily connected to climate change. In this map, we can see the prediction of temperature increase by 2050, and save a couple exceptions on the coast, the interior states are projected to register the biggest increase in temperature, all above 2 degrees Celsius and some even reaching 3.
I wonder what that's like now. Since this video came out in 2021, I wonder what this new updated thing is, because there was actually a stark decline in temperature. There was like almost like a reversal in a lot of climate change things over the past 3 years. So 2 years after this video came, well, I guess a year after this video came out. Yeah, it would be really interesting to see what that is now, what it looks like.
I was struggling to find good maps with Brazilian stats until I came across this Instagram account,
that's pretty cool.
Brasil em Mapas, meaning Brazil in maps. All credit to a few of these maps goes to them. You should definitely check out their page if you like these types of things. One of theirs is related to GDP, and it's this great one, showing 10 Brazilian cities which, by themselves, contribute 25% of the national GDP. And as we can see, 8 of them are in coastal states, with the only exceptions being the Capital Federal District and Manaus, with São Paulo representing a whopping 10% of the national GDP, and Rio de Janeiro 5%. Coastal cities worldwide tend to be more prosperous and would usually be the preferred place for settling due to the water resources and proximity to rivers. Speaking of water, what about Brazil's rivers?
Wow, I love seeing river maps. Interestingly enough, there's no, I guess you have like the Amazon River, right? But I wonder how well, I mean, huh. Like this is a pretty major connected waterway. You have the Amazon River as well, of course. I mean, the Amazon River is like the largest river network in the world. Here's a pretty significant river network. I wonder if there's any connection to this. River networks are what build power in a country, right? If you have a better river network that you can actually get ships into from like the ocean into the interior via the rivers, you're just going to be a lot more powerful commercially, defensively. You know, it's basically what made the USA so good, just because of our expansive river network from the like the Missouri River network, the Louisiana Basin, is that what it's called? I don't know. Don't quote me on that stuff.
Brazil has many, one of which, the Amazon, being the second largest in the world, just behind the Nile, although some people claim it's even bigger.
It
There
is
are
bigger.
at least 22 significant rivers, but 12 main ones, which lead to the country's hydrographic basins, essentially the areas which are connected to each specific main river. We can see them here on this map, the biggest of which is definitely that of the Amazons. Briefly going back into population, we have another interesting topic, which is ethnicity. Brazil is a country of many ethnicities and origins, and according to their own statistical institution, they consider 47.5% of the population to be of European descent, 43.4% to descend of various ethnicities, 7.5% of African descent, 1% of Asian, and only 0.4% indigenous.
What does various mean? Like multiple ethnicities?
According to this 2009 data, outdated, but I don't think that much when it comes to this, the states with the higher percentages of European descendants are in the south. People of various ethnicities are the most common all around, but especially in the northwest. And Bahia is the state where people of African descent represent a bigger percentage of the population. This map from the 2010 census divides the information into provinces.
Okay, so various just literally does just mean various descent. Okay.
The biggest ethnic group in each of
Wow, yeah, look at this. European descent is massive down here.
them. And as we can see, almost only in the Amazon forest region are natives dominant. And it's odd that we don't see Asian descendants as dominant anywhere, because Brazil has a lot of them. In this map, we can see the amount of Japanese immigrants in each state, ranging from...
It's surprising how well... like interconnected Japan and Brazil are, actually.
Just around 1,000 to over 1 million in the state of São Paulo, for instance, and being a total of around 1.8 million countrywide. The reasons why there are so many people from Japan living in Brazil might be many, but it all seems to have started with a treaty between the two countries' governments, permitting Japanese migration to Brazil. This was due in part to a decrease of Italian immigration at the time and a labor shortage that the country was facing. These days, they are likely to be fully integrated and perhaps therefore shown as people of mixed origins, with not many first-generation immigrants left. In this other map, we can see the main source of immigration per country in each Brazilian state. It's a very big mix of origin countries, and these aren't organized by number of people, as far as I know, so while you can have Americans as the biggest source of immigration in a number of states, maybe Germans moved in greater number, despite only being the biggest number in one state. But Brazil continues to have a growing immigrant communities from Portugal, Italy, Spain, Germany, Japan, China, France, the United Kingdom, the US, and Cuba, among many others. Although the Cuban one is strange, because how can they be moving to Acre when it doesn't even exist? Speaking of people, how long do they live?
What does that mean?
This next map shows us the average life expectancy per state, and we can see a big difference between them, almost as big as what we saw for the US.
Wow. Huh. Wow, look how low the life expectancy is here. Here in the US. That's crazy. That's wild. And then here it's the highest in the South. I wonder why. I wonder why that's the case.
Southeast states have an average life expectancy of 77 to 79 years. A few others all around from 74 to 76, but many of them, especially in the north and northwest, have life expectancies of only 70 to 73
9-year
years.
difference is pretty
a difference
big.
of 9 years between states in some of these cases. That is a lot. The logical justification I can come up with for this is that the southern states have more developed economies and therefore more quality of life for their citizens. However, when you look at the HDI map for Brazilian states, the Human Development Index, which measures health, knowledge, and standard of living, the differences aren't that big between states, the majority of them being close to the ideal 1.0 at 0.8 and above.
I think it might just be accessibility to actually get to these health networks, right? That might just be the case. Because how much better built up is the infrastructure here in the South compared to like a more rural area over here in the North?
Rest in the 0.7s. Something that impacts the standard of living is the ability to work and earn a living wage. In the next maps, we can see the evolution of states' unemployment rates from 2014 to 2020, with every single state increasing and in...
Whoa. Wow, many of them doubled. More than doubled. Oh my god, 3.6 to 11.4? What's going on with the unemployment stuff? I would imagine this got even worse during COVID, and I don't know what it is like now, but
many cases a lot. Bahia reaches 20% unemployment. This is a good representation of the
20% unemployment out of 212 million or however many, 200 million plus population, 20% are unemployed.
serious economic crisis that Brazil has been facing since 2014. Briefly going back to territory, we have this map showing us the division between private and public property in the country. There is a very small amount of state-owned land, at least when compared to other countries. For instance, in the US, state-owned land is a lot. Curiously, also in the western part of the country. The vast majority of Brazil's territory in yellow is private property, and only in the Amazon forest region, or at least in the interior states, do we see larger segments of land that are under the ownership of the state, perhaps natural reserves within the forest. So, those are a few interesting maps of Brazil that teach us a little bit about the country, about its territory and how it is organized, about its people and what characterizes them, how they live, how long they live, where they are from, and what their heritage is, also allowing us to understand the differences between the country's states. There are pretty much an infinite amount of maps we can use for this purpose, as there are statistics about everything, and it's always interesting to see how different parts of a country, or different countries even, compare when it comes to a specific issue or topic. If you have any additional topic suggestions for comparisons, let me know in the comments. Also, feel free to point out any statistics that you think are not correct, and leave any ideas you have for other countries about which I can make this type of video. Subscribe if you want, and I will see you next time for more general knowledge.
All right, well, the link to this video will be in the description down below. I found this video very interesting. I like looking at maps. There's a lot of information here, some things that I didn't know prior. The unemployment thing is still pretty striking. I'm wondering what that's like now. Let's go ahead and read some of the comments. Yeah. This video is 4 years old almost. Well, three and a half. There's going to be plenty of comments to parse through. Fun fact: Brazil is the country with the most Japanese population outside of Japan. I believe it. Ethnic groups in Brazil, officially color of race, are whites, mostly European, but also Arabs and Jews, Pardos, mixed of black and indigenous people, and white, not various. Blacks, mostly Africans, but also non-Africans, very rare. Yellow, East Asian only. Indigenous. Okay. Always thought you were Brazilian, but based on your Mapa's pronunciation now, I know you are Portuguese. Okay. Yeah, he even mentioned Japanese Brazilians. Various ethnicities probably means mixed race. I figured that. at the end of that little explanation. Brazilian here, you nailed it. Awesome job. Video talk about Brazil. Comment section. I don't know what that means. Eso mesmo. I don't know what that means. Legend says that for you to reach Acre, you need to cross a wormhole and enter a different period where you can find dinosaurs. Dinosaurs. I want to see some of the newer comments. This person's from Acre. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm bad with my pronunciation. Not a gringo making a Acre joke. The fires are human action. Fucking, I don't know what that word is. It is now that the world discovers that in Brazil there are not only black people, but that there's white people who dominate the nation. What kind of comment is that? That's a weird comment. Okay. German religion is Brazilian ethnicity. Oh. Yeah, that does say religion. I thought it was going to say like region, but no, it's religion. Who knows with this information, stop saying that we speak Spanish, that our capital is Buenos Aires, and that who's saying any of this? Who's saying any of that? Who says that? I don't know who says that. The 2020 crisis was caused by pandemic. As a Brazilian, I can say that this is cool. In the last map, there are visible mismatch between the color predominance from privately owned land and percentage in the legend, 53%. Which one is correct? I don't know. He had no reply, so who knows? We may never know. The map comparing unemployment in Brazil in 2014 and 2020 is obviously deceiving. Is it? How is it obviously deceiving? No one replied to him, so we may never know. I'm a Mongolian, and Brazil is way too far an unfamiliar country for me. Okay. I'm a Brazilian, and Mongolia is way too far an unfamiliar country for me. No idea how the language sounds. Can't tell traditional Mongolian food or music, but I think most people there are Buddhists. Pope Francis is from neighboring Argentina, a country. Oh, R.I.P. Right? A country most related in bilateral relationship with Brazil. Visits Mongolia from August 31st to September 1st, and last year in 2023. Well, a few years ago. The video was great for the ones that I didn't understand. I understand that Brazil we used to joke about the state that doesn't even exist because no one lives there. Oh, that's the joke. I get it. I get the joke now. Americans are all people who live in an American continent, not just the United States. True, true. It's the North American continent and the South American continent. Americans are all of us, right? Okay. Yeah, this person is Portuguese, apparently. I don't know. Um, okay, well, again, interesting video. I liked it. Link to this video will be in the description down below. And I will catch you on the next one. Take care. Goodbye.